Dr. Hooper, you are head of biodiversity here at the Queensland Museum and a world expert on sponges. You've spent a lot of time collecting them along our Great Barrier Reef. What's so special about it?
Well, it's the largest continuous reef system on the planet and possibly has the greatest diversity of any other ecosystem. That's why it's World Heritage listed. On the Great Barrier Reef there are more species of sponges than all the hard and soft corals put together. Australia has a very unique range of sponges, most of which are still unknown to science. There are probably around 2,000 species off the coast of Queensland.
My next question, of course, is why sponges? Why are they so important?
Sponges are the vacuum cleaners of the sea, filtering toxins and waste products of other marine creatures. They're amongst the most toxic of all animals. Some of the chemicals they produce have great interest to medicine and the pharmaceutical industry, and they have the potential to treat several human diseases.
Does it take a long time to determine if there are any bioactive chemicals in the samples you collect?
Yes, it takes many months from collection to working out their molecular structure, but technology is really speeding this up. What used to take the time of getting a PhD over several years can now be done in a day.
What sorts of diseases or conditions do these biochemicals appear to treat?
They've been effective against cancer cells, in pain control, circulatory problems such as blood clots, as anti-inflammatory drugs and many more. Each chemical is specific to a particular target or process, such as a cell type, a receptor on a cell membrane, and on how cells reproduce as well.
So have you seen many changes in the Great Barrier Reef over recent years?
Well, some of the more obvious changes are things like structural damage to the reef, anchor damage caused by boats, people trampling the reef, people throwing rubbish in the water, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But the major changes to the reef have been caused by coral bleaching events, is one of the major things. Over the past decade, there have been 3 major events where significant parts of the reef have been killed off, by, or at least bleached by rising sea temperatures. And also you've got things like periodic invasions by crown-of-thorns starfish and algal blooms.
Right. So do we know what is causing these changes?
One is climate change. Even though the Great Barrier Reef is one of the most protected ecosystems on the planet, certainly in Australia, little will save it from the effects of climate change. You see, corals are like canaries of the seas, and even small environmental changes can cause major environmental damage. Rising sea temperatures are also affecting other things apart from coral, such as sponges and sea squirts.
Is there anything that we can do about it?
It's important for us to gather evidence of these changes, such as monitoring the bleaching events, the extent of the periodicity, and to look at things like water quality, phosphate runoff, pollutants in the sea. But ultimately it's the whole community needs to review our carbon footprint if we want to have the Great Barrier Reef stay anywhere near the same as it is now.
What do you see as the most important aspect of your job here at the museum?
Well, as well as managing the zoological and geological research in the collections at the museum, I've got a curatorial role as well. That means we discover and document and communicate about the sessile marine invertebrates, such as sponges and soft corals. This role involves marine surveys, working in the laboratory, and ultimately caring for our collections on behalf of all the Queenslanders. It's important to care for these collections because, as well as the potential biochemical value they have, the collections also contain viable DNA, which is a unique resource. In fact, how can we conserve and manage our magnificent natural heritage if we don't know what its composition is in the first place?
In what ways can visitors to the reef help to protect it?
Enjoy it, but respect it. Some people still perceive the ocean as being a bottomless rubbish dump. But it's a saying when you go into a national park that the only things you should leave behind are your footprints, and the only things you should bring out are your memories and photos of the experience.
So is the future all doom and gloom, or is there hope for us?
No, it's not all doom and gloom, but we may be reaching a turning point from which there's no return unless we act now.
Thank you, Dr. Hooper, for speaking with us today.
My pleasure.